it can be very helpful to take time to examine one's family dynamics, early childhood family dynamics, and the ways that those dynamics helped to shape us, helped to shape and affect our personality, our emotional expressions, and our belief systems. The early childhood family dynamic, when we come into the world and we're vulnerable and impressionable, we're born into a series of dynamics around us that are constantly at play. Sometimes we may feel supported, and other times we may feel challenged. Take some time to write down what those dynamics were for you. So, the dynamics between each family member with each other. If you grew up with a father, what was your relationship with him? Was he supportive and loving? Or did you feel challenged or judged in any way? Write down the details. Maybe you felt very supported by your father, but there was one area where you felt he stood in judgment of you. Write down the details. What area did you feel judged around versus how you felt supported? Just give a sentence or two of the detail of each of these aspects. And you could move to your mother, same thing. Supportive aspects versus how you felt challenged or judged in some way. Then write a little bit about the dynamic between your parents, the challenging aspects versus the supportive elements that you witnessed between them. What was their level of communication like? Were they loving and intimate with each other, or were they distant with each other? Write in detail. Take half an hour to write about these primary dynamics. Allow memories to come to the surface, where you can start to reflect and make subtle associations between these dynamics and your own current family dynamics and relationships. Which aspects do you feel that you're repeating, that you witnessed in your early childhood family dynamic? Maybe you'll witness things that you don't like about yourself. When we bring awareness to these things, it's the first step towards making a change. Awareness. As well, write down the dynamics between siblings and between each of your siblings and each of your parents. What did you witness? What is your perception of what you thought their relationship was? Did you witness your brother and sister have a very loving friendship, supportive connection with each other? And perhaps your brothers were fighting all the time and there was lots of competition? These are valuable things to write down because these are things that you witnessed. When we're around people, other people have different belief systems. When we're actually sitting within those dynamics, they affect us at a very subtle level. Sometimes we can view things that we don't like about our parents or view a dynamic between them that we think is unhelpful, and we vow never to repeat that ourselves, and yet find ourselves years later doing that very same thing, connecting or behaving or getting into dynamics that we witnessed play out. So it's very easy for us to jump into the same energetic dynamics because we're surrounded by it. We live within these dynamics every day. So we are affected in negative ways and we're affected in positive ways. And it's very easy for this to happen, where we witness a dynamic that we don't like and that we don't want, and then find ourselves playing the same thing out in our own marriage or relationship. Or perhaps witnessing various ways that we parent our children and then shake our head and realize that this is a learned behavior, something we witnessed our own parents do. So by shining a light on all of this, we can start to step back and make different choices, and also connect with where we may feel wounded or have some pain associated with a particular belief and behavior. So once you complete writing out all of the various dynamics and your perception of what you remember within that early time in your life, then you can start to move through various subject areas. For example, when it came to money, what was the relationship or attitude towards money in the family environment with you growing up? Was there always scarcity and never enough money to do anything? Or was there a very relaxed attitude about money, trusting that it would always be there and that there would always be enough? Or perhaps you grew up in a very abundant family life. How has that affected your life today and your relationship with money, with earning and with spending? And that's connected with one's work ethic. How did your parents and your family dynamic, how was that affected by a work ethic, by education, by habits such as discipline and perseverance, versus having a relaxed attitude about these things? Was there pressure to perform in any way? Or was it just an open, supportive, loving relationship where your parents supported your personal interests in things? These are helpful to hone in on the various belief systems. How about spirituality and religion? Did you feel this was non-existent in your upbringing? Or was it a very important primary part of the ways that your parents influenced you? Do you feel that there were rigid belief systems that you felt limited by? Or was there a very open and loving expression between the family members with regard to spirituality and taking higher perspective of the way that we live life? Was this part of your life, or was it non-existent? Was it restrictive, or was it supportive? Go through each subject and examine it and write it down. It's important to write these things down because we connect with the information in a different way by writing it down. And then we can read it back later, and you can start to compare some of your notes as well. So parenting style, the same thing. Are you witnessing certain ways that your parents looked after or guided the children within your family? Things that you like and things that you thought were wonderful versus things that you don't like. Are you watching yourself replay some of the ways that your parents looked after you? Maybe aspects that you didn't like or you found were limiting. This is how we energetically align very often with behaviors that we don't like, because we're affected by these energies because they're part of our everyday living. Every day we're swimming in these dynamics, so of course they have an impact on our development. Creativity, were you encouraged to express yourself in a creative way? Or did your parents consider that to be a waste of time? What happened? How were you supported versus how were you criticized or limited due to the belief systems of your home family environment? So you could just go through the list in terms of education, work ethic, creativity, health. Were there certain attitudes and beliefs around health that have affected you today in terms of how you treat yourself and nurturing, and how you're observing yourself and your dynamics with your own family and children and spouse? And how are those relationships today with those family members? Do you have close relationships, or did you grow apart because of unresolved conflict? So this may also be an opportunity to explore ways to reconnect with family. Sometimes that's a helpful thing, and other times maybe you may go in different directions, and maybe it's best to keep your distance. Oftentimes our real soul family is not our original family. So it just depends on whatever your personal circumstances were. So take time, write it down, reflect on it, Take time to do this over a week or two to allow insights to come to the surface. Chat with other family members or friends about what you're discovering as you move through this process. Thank you.